So, Darcy's Corner. It's July 20th or 21st or something. Um, I'm probably going to share this because I always say I'm not sure if I'm going to share it, and then I share it anyway. So I'm probably going to share this. This one's kind of a serious one. It's a bit of a downer, and I should give a trigger warning if you have this condition and you have suicidal tendencies. Maybe don't watch this. I don't currently have suicidal tendencies. We get accused a lot of being dramatic and melodramatic, and sometimes we are a little melodramatic. It's not a joke that when you screw with your hormones, it does things to your emotions that you were not expecting, and it can make little things become big things sometimes. I remember a couple incidences when I was first switching over and I was in between, and we know that I was in between because we were testing my levels at the time. So they were like at 0, and then they were at 30, and then they were at 150. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter to you. But that was my estrogen, and my testosterone was at 0 or dropped down to nothing. And like that does a number on your psyche. And somebody will cut you off in traffic or something, and it escalates quickly in your mind. Or somebody will do or say something to you, somebody that you know. And I remember there was an incident with some of my friends, associates, or whatever from my previous church community, and they did something. Some of them did, or they didn't do something. Other ones didn't. And I'm not accusing; they were not cruel or anything, but people were standoffish. And I knew rationally that what they were doing was fine, and that I just had to accept that they didn't understand, and I just had to work with that. On an intellectual level, I knew that. I understood that I needed to give them time to adjust also. And one or two of them actually told me that, but in a way that was kind. Um, and some of these are my very close friends. And I understood that intellectually. But emotionally, I was just, I lost it. I was livid. I was mad. I was upset. I was accusing them of all sorts of things that they hadn't done. Um, anyway, it's just that little things become big things when your emotions are on a roller coaster like that. And so when you're in those states, that's a bad time to make a decision. Don't buy a car. Don't pick a career. Don't uh, don't call that person that you really want to call and tell them what you really think of them. That's a bad time to do that. I'm not saying that they don't deserve that phone call, but you're not in your right mind then. Anyway, things are balanced now. I'm fine. I can handle everything that happened previously. If that happened now, I would just shrug it off. I would still be upset about it, but I would be upset in moderation. Okay, that's now. Um, but it wasn't always that way. And it's not melodrama. But what I'm going to talk about now is not that. Although it is part of emotional regulation and how this condition affects me. Previous to up until I was almost 39, I never noticeably felt dysphoria. I probably felt it all the time. I just didn't know what it was called, and I just thought I was moody or whatever. Um, but when I was 39, I decided to transition, and I told my doctor. I let people at work know. I potentially blew up my marriage. I, threw a monkey wrench in with all my friends and associates from church, and church life for me was a big part of my world. So that wasn't a little thing, my faith, for me, losing that or potentially losing that. I haven't officially lost it yet. I still have it. I'm not officially excommunicated yet, but I'm sure it's coming. At any rate, this was a very important thing for me to do. Um, and then one day I'm standing in the kitchen just over there. There. You can't see it, of course. And I could show you, but you're not missing anything. It's gross. Anyway, I was standing in that kitchen there, and this thought came to me, and my doctor did not help at all at that time, because she was like, well, if it's not fatal, I don't need to treat it, so it doesn't matter. That thought stayed with me. If it's not fatal, it doesn't need to be treated. What if I'm stuck in this prison for the rest of my life? What prison, you ask? My masculine shield. See, when I was a little kid, any girliness would have been shamed out of me or discouraged. And so eventually I built up this wall, this shield. The guy, that was him, that was me, that wasn't a person. That was a shield I built up to protect myself. Okay? And he was a decent guy. He treated women well. He cared about others. He held the door open. He did what he could to help his friends and neighbors. And, he wasn't a bad man. And he wasn't a bad looking man. He was fine. There's a picture of me back there. See if I can zoom this in. It doesn't zoom in the other way. The camera, it's on the phone. It flips around, and the other way it zooms in. From this side, there's no zoom. Anyway, but I was a fine-looking guy back then. It was whatever. It was fine. But that was a shell. That was a protector. That was somebody I built up to protect me. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was strong. He could do things, and he was confident in himself at that point. So I built up a pretty good protector. But now my protector's become my prison, because I don't want to be him, really. I didn't want to be him before either. But I didn't really have a choice, because my childhood prevented me from expressing my femininity. And then later, when I got into adulthood, I found religion, and they strongly opposed me expressing my femininity. And I, drank the Kool-Aid, as it were. I believed them. When they told me that God would fix this, I signed up for that. Having gone to the temple and been sealed in the temple, I can tell you God didn't fix this, because this wasn't broken in the first place. The thing that was broken was me trying to change it in the first place. Anyway, I'm standing there in that kitchen, and I'm 39, and I've decided to transition, and I'm getting opposition from my doctor. I'm getting opposition from my faith, and my family was not very supportive, including my spouse. She got better, but she wasn't better then. And you feel like the whole world's against you, number one. And number two, it's never going to work. It's never going to end. You're never going to get through this. You're never going to really be you. And when that thought stuck in my brain, I'm never going to be me. Not really. Ever. There's no point in even trying. Which is kind of what my doctor implied. You're too old now, and why bother trying? You've already waited this long. It's already screwed up for you. You can't do it. She implied that very strongly. Don't ever do that to a trans person. This is the worst thing. This is the hardest thing we've ever had to do in our lives. Anyway, on that day, I thought, if I have to spend one more day in this prison, one more, I'm done. I quit. That was almost 2 years ago now. I was 39, but I was about to turn 40. I was ready to slit my wrists that day. For real. Not playing games. Not being melodramatic. Not I hope I'll slit him and then maybe they'll save me before I can, and then she'll transition me, right? Because then I've almost died, so now it's worth saving. No. I was ready to end it. So now, like a year and a half later, my mother sends me a YouTube collection of videos trying to drag me back to being the man that I was, and shows all these different people who have transitioned and detransitioned and how it'll never possibly work in their lives and it couldn't possibly work in mine. And she knows because these people who put together this video, it didn't work for them. Now, I don't have any bone to pick with those particular people or the people who put together that video, because that information's out there. I've come across that information before, by the way. If I wanted to focus on that, I could. Focus on this. That day, 2 years ago, when I said if I have to spend one more day in this prison, my masculine self died that day. If I had to go back to living like that, I would slit my wrists. I would end it. I don't know why you get so sad about it. I don't know why, because beforehand, I had never been that sad about it. But before, I'd always had this thought in the back of my mind that eventually I will get to be me. Eventually, the church will come around. Eventually, it'll be okay to be gay. Eventually, I'll be me. That was always there before. But that day, I lost hope that day. And the day I truly lost hope that I might become me, the sadness is just so overwhelming. I have never felt worse in my entire life, and I've been homeless twice. And those were really hard days and really hard times. I never felt like I felt that day. So, granted, anybody who wants to drag me back, you can have him. He died that day. He won't be returning phone calls. He won't go to funerals. He doesn't care if you're sick. He doesn't care anything about you because he's dead. Maybe in the afterlife he cares. You'll have to talk to him there. You can't talk to him here no more. He's not here no more. I decided that. So I don't give people a whole lot of second or third chances when it comes to understanding my transition, because I don't care if you don't understand it. I understand. If I go back to being him, if I accept that as truth, I will end my life. So, either you can get on board the Darci train, or you can fuck off. I don't care if you're related. I don't care if you're my mother, my father. I don't give a shit. You get on board the Darci train, or you can get out of my life because I don't need you. I'm going to live. I'm going to live as me. I'm going to love me. And the rest of y'all are just going to have to deal. That's an important message. And I hope every parent who has a trans child truly understands that. There is no going back. And there is no, well, wouldn't your life be easier? Go fuck yourself. Nothing about my life's been easy. Why should that change now? Forget easier. At least I'm me. That's more important. Anyway. Sorry, this one got dark. But it's an important message. It needs to be out there. This thing is not a game. And don't treat it like it's nothing. It's not nothing. Okay. Darci's Corner. Out.